Okay, so this is game 6 right here. We're obviously going to a game 7 in the Rockets Warriors series, and nobody is really surprised about that, with Chris Paul being out, especially on the road. Okay, Rockets had a really good start, but now they go to game 7, and that's what everybody wanted to see, right? Okay, so I'm going to take you through this first half, and I do believe this first half was set up. Okay, the game line pretty much, I believe. Remember, these are all my opinions, but I believe that the first half, there were more sharp bettors betting on the first half, and I'm going to explain that in a minute. But for the full game, I believe it was a even action game because once this line opened at 10.5, and then with the Chris Paul injury, it moved, and it moved up to, I believe it got as high as 13.5, at some point at some books. Okay, so I think that scared off a lot of people, and they started taking Houston. Okay, so people started taking Houston here, and that evened out the action. I'm sure they got a lot of action before the injury. They probably got it at 10.5. I heard some books had it at 9.5. But I believe they got two-way action on this full game. Okay, I read a lot where some of the casinos, the Vegas casinos, opened their lines at 8.5. I didn't see 8.5 anywhere. Even before the injury, they said that they opened it higher than what it would normally be. Some books opened it at 10, even before the injury, and some opened it, I heard, at 8.5, even before the injury, but I didn't see that anywhere. Okay, so the current line at most, the open line at most of the offshore books though were at 10.5 already. Okay, then it fluctuated between 13.5 and 12.5. So I'm sure they got a lot of two-way action on that. Now I'm going to take you to the first half. Okay, and the reason behind this is, the reason I think that they got two-way action on the game is because everyone expected Golden State to win, but I just feel like with that injury, some bettors were betting it at 10.5, and once it got to 13, they laid off and started taking Houston, because I read articles where they were saying that a lot of wise, sharp bettors were going to bet also on Houston if it got that high. So that is why that full game line got two-way action. But as far as the first half, okay, that is why it looked very strange. And that just shows you how talented these teams are, because a lot of people were saying that Houston is a fluke because they only won by a couple of points in those previous two games without Andre Iguodala. So Houston had to show that they were more than capable of beating Golden State, in a half like that, and that just showed you how talented this team is. If they would have played like that for 48 minutes, they would have won the game, right? But obviously the refs kept that game very close. At halftime, it was a 10-point game, which I thought at halftime, uh, without all those bad calls, I feel like Houston could have been up by at least 20 points at halftime, but they didn't want that. There were a lot of bad calls on Houston. Houston got fouled on a couple three-pointers that weren't called. Just a lot of bad calls keeping Golden State in the game. Okay, and that's very common with a team that's playing at home. But that game could have been like a 15 to 20-point game at halftime, which it ended up being a 10-point game. Okay, so Houston definitely showed that they're more than capable of beating this Golden State team, even without Chris Paul. So if you take a look at this first half, the reason why I believe Houston won this first half is because of that. They had to show the public, they had to show, the media and everybody, that they're more than capable of beating this team, Golden State, even without Chris Paul. And I expected that from them anyways. I expected them to come out very strong. If you look at the way Golden State started, they were very nervous. They looked very, very like they weren't ready to play. I expected the more aggressive team in Houston to come out strong in this one, just to show everybody that they're more than capable, that they're not a fluke, okay, to beat this Golden State team. Okay, obviously they weren't going to get it done, I feel like they just gave it away, and then they just laid down in the fourth quarter once Golden State made their run in the third, because they know they have a game 7 at home, which that brings me to the game 7 and what I'm seeing right now. And to me, this looks very good for Houston, actually, because if you look at this money here, whatever they try doing in this game 6, okay, it's setting up real nicely for this game 7 here with the public. They definitely want the perception to be on the Warriors here. Okay, so they opened this line at 4 for a game 7 here. Okay, let's go back to the full game, and I'll show you this game 7. Okay, this opened up at 5. Some books opened it at 4.5, and it's already been up. It's already been bet to 5.5. So they're definitely taking money. Is definitely taking coming in on the Warriors for game 7. Okay, nobody believes in the Rockets now, and this would be a good opportunity for the Rockets to step up and shock the world and beat the Golden State Warriors. So I'm seeing a lot of money coming in on the Warriors already at betting it from 4 to 5.5, 4.5 to 5.5. Already seeing Warriors action coming in strong on this game 7. Okay, you see the 62% already strong public action coming in on the Warriors. So we'll see what happens with this line. But even if this percentage drops, the public money is already taking the Warriors for game 7. So they're going to have a lot of action coming in on the Warriors here for game 7. And that, if that's what I'm seeing, that's what they wanted, because of this previous blowout here. 86 points, Golden State winning by 29 points here. Okay, that's a big blowout. So they definitely want that perception coming in on Golden State for game 7. Now, the series bet is plus 200. That's not out of the question for Houston to win. Okay, it's definitely possible for Houston to pull off an upset here at plus 200. That's definitely not out of the question. We see a lot of games like that at plus 200 end up winning. Okay, so don't forget, a lot of people bet on Golden State earlier in the season as a future bet at lower odds. So there's a lot of money riding on Golden State here. So the casinos are definitely going to need Houston to win this game and cover this game. All right, so that's it for this video. I just wanted to show you the first half and the full game, also game 7 coming up. So I'll be back with another video. So comment, rate, and subscribe, and I'll see you then.